New Hampshire's Republican governor, Chris Sununu, joins me now. Do I have it wrong, Gov?
No, you're spot on. Look, it's going into debates, whether you're on the planning board or running for president, you're setting expectations, right? You're setting that expectation. I think one of the challenges we have is so many Americans right now are seeing this entire presidential race, unfortunately, more like a reality TV show. Right? They want to see if Trump's going to be abrasive and lose his top. They're going to see if Biden's going to have a senior moment. And that's going to be one of the challenges for Jake and Dana. I think they're going to do a terrific job, but they got to make it substantive, right? And I'll tell you, I'm surprised and impressed at the same time. Trump is taking it seriously. His team is taking this entire campaign much more professionally than his previous races. I know they're practicing, they're strategizing, and I think that's where this kind of change in tone is coming from. They're really telling him, you got to set the table of expectations in order to make sure that we come out of this ahead. And it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a pretty interesting night. I'm guessing I don't know what you think, but I'm guessing the ratings are going to be pretty high.
Well, look, I hope so. There's no reason not to want them to be high. You know, the more engagement, the better. I wish we had 10 or 12 debates. And even though I agree with your assessment of the CNN brother and sister there who are going to be doing the job, Dana and Jake, I wish there were no moderators, because I would like the American people to be able to judge these candidates as adults. And if they don't know how to treat each other, they don't know how to behave, let that be obvious. It's hard for the moderators to make it substantive. These guys only say what they want to say anyway. But, Gov, one more step on strategy, and then I want to ask you for something for you. They've done too much, not you, but they've done too much at the campaign, let's say, to make people want to believe that Biden is brain dead, to now say, let's be careful about setting expectations. They went too far down that road, and now they're worried about looking bad.
I would agree with that. Look, I go to the State of the Union, right, that Biden did. Regardless of what he said, he came out with energy. It was a late night, hour and a half speech that he gave. He had energy. That was the talk the next day, that he didn't have senior moments. And so if that's the only story you're playing, obviously you have to start tampering that back. And obviously he's talking about taking it more seriously. And so, again, I try to think, well, how substantive will it be? Right? How engaging will it be? Will Jake and Dana be able to just ask the inflation question, or can they take it to a second and third level and get that discussion going? And to your point of making sure the adults, the better version of the adults come out, not having an audience there, while it was Biden's idea to not have an audience, I actually think that plays to a bit of Trump's advantage as well, because, as you know, Trump likes to play to the crowd, right? He says something outlandish, he gets a positive feedback from his supporters, he doubles down on it. So I think by not having a crowd there, it helps Trump not get overly abrasive, not try to, play into the moment of the feedback that he's getting. So it'll be interesting to see, because I don't know if have we ever done a debate with no crowd at all? Like with no kind of background noise?
I think they've been done in the past. They've certainly been silent. We've done it. I've never done it, but it's been done. But not usually, not in the modern era. So this will be different. I agree with your analysis 100%. Now, I want to talk about you for a second. So I talk a lot with the people in my life about what I do on the show and who I have on. And I have been open and outspoken to you and about you that I think you're absolutely part of the future of this country. And I think that, people should be looking at you. So here's what I get when it comes on Trump. So I want to give you an opportunity to explain. You should be more like Romney. You can't talk about Trump and say, this guy's not even a real Republican, this guy's crazy, and then say, I'm voting for him, and be seen as the political figure that this country is desperate for, which is one who talks and thinks like the rest of us. Now, I say to people, be fair, Romney's on the way out, Sununu is on the way up. And that's why they're going to give different answers. But that's not that satisfying to people. They say if Sununu thinks he's crazy and not a real Republican, then that should be the end of the analysis. Why isn't it?
Because elections are about choices, right? When you go in, you have A, you have B. And if you're 51-49 for one candidate, that's who you're going to fill that box and that ballot in for. So I think, like myself, I think there's a lot of people that don't like a lot of aspects of Donald Trump. I don't take back anything I've ever said about him. but I'm going to hold my nose and vote for him because it's not just the president that I deal with as a governor, it's the administration, right? I want a Republican administration that believes more in individual rights and responsibilities and parental voice in the classroom. And again, it doesn't have this kind of one-size big government solution for everybody, gets rid of this wokeism that is I think, invading the culture of this country in a very negative way, and hopefully puts a little bit of fiscal responsibility back on the table. Trump wasn't great at that. It was very frustrating for me.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.